Hello my dear students and welcome once again to Zenith Academy Online. Today we are on part 2 of the chapter Endocrine Glands for ICSE class 10. And in this video I'll be talking to you about the adrenal glands. So be there till the end of the lecture and understand adrenal glands in detail. So let me tell you first of all, just let me take the ink. Yeah. So adrenal glands are found on the top of each kidney. Can you see here? These are the two kidneys and adrenal glands. These are the two adrenal glands found on the top. So adrenal glands are found on the top of each kidney. Even the name adrenal, okay, directly refers to their location. How location? Because in Latin, ad means near and reins is always we know kidneys. So it is near kidneys. So adrenal is on the top of the kidney, near kidneys. So these glands are also known as suprarenal glands. Please note this, the other name of gland is suprarenal glands. In Latin, supra means above and renis means kidney, right? So this is another name for adrenal glands. Now if you see the diagram very carefully children, both the glands do not look exactly the same. Okay, can you see here? See this diagram? This is the right adrenal gland. See this. And this one is the left adrenal gland. You can see these pictures on Google and understand that these two does not look exactly the same. So now each adrenal gland, these both consist of two parts. Okay, just let me. So these consist of two parts. One is a central medulla. So in both of them, can you see medulla? This is the central part. This part. Can you see this? See where I am doing annotation. So this is the central medulla. So the inside the central part is known as medulla and peripheral. Peripheral means towards the periphery, right? In the corner. So this is cortex. Can you see this? On the periphery side, this is the periphery side. This is known as cortex. So there are each adrenal gland consists of two parts, medulla and cortex. It is also known as adrenal medulla or adrenal cortex. Okay. So first let's talk about adrenal medulla. You remember what was medulla? The central part. See the diagram. So now let's talk about adrenal medulla. What does it secrete? It secretes adrenaline. Okay, also called as epinephrine and noradrenaline. Actually, they are slightly different from adrenaline. Okay, but for your syllabus, you can consider them same. Okay, they have a slight different function. Adrenaline is a hormone. Okay, so first of all, you should remember what does it secrete? It secretes adrenaline. Okay, adrenaline is also known as epinephrine. And this is a slightly different, this secretes something else, okay, but for you, you understand this is noradrenaline. So जो adrenaline है बेटा या epinephrine है वो एक hormone है, it's a hormone. And what does it do? It prepares the body to meet any emergency situation. For fight, that is to face the danger, or for flight, that is to run away from it. So what does it mean? What is fight or flight? If you see a potential danger, so this is a potential danger in front of that man, he's fighting it, or he will run away. That's flight. So our body, okay, the adrenaline prepares our body for two situations. In situation of fight and flight. In both these situations, we need the secretion of adrenaline. Okay. So let's talk about in fight or flight response, what is the role of adrenaline? The flight or flight response is a specific physiological response, okay, that happens when the individual faces perceived danger. So whenever we face a danger, there is a physiological response of our body, okay. So this mobilizes resources to either flee, that is flight, or fight the danger. So this is a physiological response that happens when an individual faces the danger, and it mobilizes, it brings into action the resources in our body. So what are the resources? The different hormones and the enzymes. Okay, they help us to either flight or fight. Now how it happens, I will talk to you about that also. So the activation of fight or flight response begins within milliseconds of a danger being perceived. So whenever we see a danger coming, or whenever we feel कि okay, this is a dangerous situation, or this is going to happen, okay, so within milliseconds, okay, this fight or flight response is activated, okay, and it can last up to an hour, allowing for fast reactions times. So the fight or flight response is carried out using the sympathetic nervous system. And what does the sympathetic nervous system do? It stimulates the hormone production. It involves both the nervous and the endocrine system. So actually, when you talk about fight or flight, both the systems are involved. First, the sympathetic nervous system will tell our adrenal glands okay, now there is a fight or flight response, so situation, so you release adrenaline. So as soon as our brain detects that it is a fight or flight situation, the adrenaline starts, the adrenal gland starts pumping out that adrenaline. Okay, and who instructs? The sympathetic nervous system. So it involves both nervous and endocrine systems. So adrenaline is the main hormone associated with fight or flight response. So what are the physiological changes? There will be some physiological changes, right? So physiological changes initiated by fight or flight response include increased heart and respiratory rate. Okay? So whenever we see a danger, what happens? Our heartbeat starts very fast. It becomes very fast. Okay? We start breathing fast. Okay? So that we can take in more oxygen, which is required maybe by our muscles if we want to run, or maybe by our brain if we want to think something or at that point. Okay, so an increase of blood flow to the brain and limbs. Okay, so heartbeat increases, respiratory rate increases, blood flow increases to the brain and the limbs, because limbs will be used to either hit him or to run. Okay, increased sweating and trembling muscles. All these are the physical changes that we see in our body during this fight or flight response. Now, how does it work? The fight or flight response is a chain of physiological events in the body that happens in response to a stimulus that is perceived as dangerous. अगर कोई ऐसा stimulus है जो कि हमें लग रहा है कि dangerous है, we are perceiving it as dangerous, then there is a chain of physiological events happening in our body. So your senses send a signal to the brain, okay, this is a danger, which stimulates the sympathetic nervous system to tell your adrenal glands to produce hormones. Understood? So your sense will signal to the brain that okay, there is a danger. The sympathetic nervous system tell your adrenal glands to produce the hormones, and which in turn affect multiple organs throughout the body. I hope now you have understood this. So let's talk about different responses to adrenaline. What happens? So first let's talk about the body part, heart. What happens to the heart when adrenaline is released? Okay. So what is the effect of adrenaline? The heart beats faster and the blood pressure increases. What is the biological advantage? क्या होगा अगर heart pump कर रहा है faster and blood pressure is increasing? It sends more glucose and oxygen to the muscles, because now the muscles need the energy to run, right, or even to fight. The muscles will need energy. So if the heart will beat faster, the blood pressure will increase, so the heart is able to send more glucose and oxygen to the muscles. And what is the effect? उससे अपनी body पे क्या effect दिखेगा आपको? We will experience a thumping heart. Okay, so this happens when this is the response to adrenaline of heart. Now what happens to the breathing center of the brain? Okay, so the breathing, it becomes faster and deeper. Okay, the brain starts breathing faster and deeper. What is the biological advantage? Increased oxygenation of blood and rapid removal of carbon dioxide. And this causes panting. हम जो हाफ जाते हैं ना दौड़ते दौड़ते, अगर हम हमारे पीछे कुत्ता पड़ गया है तो हमारा ब्रीदिंग सेंटर ऑफ द ब्रेन फास्टर एंड डीपर हो जाएगा, ज्यादा ऑक्सीजन मिलेगा हमारे ब्लड को, हम तुरंत कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड निकालते जाएंगे। और जब हम ये कर रहे हैं, फास्टर और डीपर ब्रीदिंग ले रहे हैं, कार्बन डाइऑक्साइड रैपिडली रिमूव कर रहे हैं, तो हमारी सांसें फूल जाती है, दैट इज नोन एज पैंटिंग। सो दैट इज द इफेक्ट वी फील। नेक्स्ट इज आर्टेरियल्स ऑफ द स्किन। हमारी स्किन देखो, अक्सर जब हम किसी से लड़ाई कर रहे होते हैं, एग्रेशन में होते हैं, या हम डर जाते हैं, तो हमारी स्किन जो होती है, ठीक है, एकदम पेल हो जाती है, ठीक है, पीले पड़ जाते हैं हम डर के मारे। कभी देखा है फाइट और फ्लाइट रिस्पॉन्स में पीले पड़ जाना, दैट इज पेल हो जाना। सो आर्टेरियल्स ऑफ द स्किन पे हमारा क्या इफेक्ट आता है? द एड्रेनालिन कंस्ट्रिक्ट्स देम, उसको कंस्ट्रिक्ट कर देती है। सो इफ इट कंस्ट्रिक्ट्स देम, लेस ब्लड इज गोइंग टू द स्किन, means more is available to the muscle and the person turns pale. I hope you are able to read this because I think मैं शायद बीच में आ रही हूँ, तो I am just going away. I want you to read this और click the pictures. मैं यहाँ हार्ट से फिर से दिखा रही हूँ आपको, देखो हार्ट का देख लो, पिक्चर क्लिक कर लो, ब्रीदिंग सेंटर ऑफ द ब्रेन देख लो, and then this is skin. Okay, the person turns pale. Now what happens to the digestive system? Okay, what happens to the arterioles of the digestive system? Adrenaline constrict the arterioles of the digestive system, क्योंकि now at the time of flight or fight, क्या आप खाना पचाने बैठोगे? क्या आप खाने को डाइजेस्ट करना is important? No, right? It is not important. So less blood for the digestive system allows more to reach the muscles. Now the body is sending less blood to the digestive system and allowing more to reach the muscles because muscles need the oxygenated blood right now. और उसकी वजह से क्या इफेक्ट होगा? We will have a dry mouth. Now see what happens to the muscles of the body. Adrenaline tenses them, उसको tense बना देती है, उसको कड़क बना देती है, and that is why they are ready for immediate action. ये उसका biological advantage है. And what is the sensation? Tense feeling or shivering. Okay. What happens to the liver? Liver क्या, जब adrenaline release होता है तो liver convert more of glycogen to glucose, क्योंकि अभी हमें energy की जरूरत है. So more of glycogen converts into glucose and hence glucose is available in blood for energy production. And we don't feel any sensation in this case. liver में जो भी हो रहा है उससे हमारे body को physiological sensation नहीं दिखता है कुछ भी, right? Now next is what happens to the fat deposit. Let me come back here. I hope I am visible now. So conversion of fat into fatty acids, because we need fatty acid in the blood, क्योंकि fatty acid से ही muscle contract होते हैं बेटा. So what happens to the fat deposit? हमारी बॉडी में जो फैट डिपॉजिट है, अगर एड्रेनलिन रिलीज हुआ तो वो फैट क्या करेगा? फैटी एसिड में कन्वर्ट हो जाएगा. एंड दिस व्हाट इज द एडवांटेज? दैट दिस फैटी एसिड इज नाउ अवेलेबल इन द ब्लड फॉर मसल कॉन्ट्रैक्शन एंड वी डोंट हैव एनी सेंसेशन हियर. ठीक है बच्चों, इज एवरीथिंग क्लियर? नाउ in addition to all these functions that we read just now in fight or flight, adrenaline also increases the clotting capacity of the blood. It dilates the pupil of the eye. Okay, eye की जो pupil है उसको dilate कर देता है. It stimulates uterine contractions during labor. So during childbirth, what does it do? It stimulates the uterine contraction. अपना जो uterus होता है उसको contract करने के लिए stimulate करता है. It also stimulates muscle of the hair follicles. Okay. So please नहीं है यहाँ पे. So these functions are in general the same as those of sympathetic autonomic nervous system. जब हमने nervous system पढ़ा था तब मैंने आपको बताया था, ठीक है, autonomic nervous system का जो sympathetic है उसके भी same functions थे, right? So the main function is in fight or flight case. So let's talk about now functions of adrenaline. Most of them we have already done. So adrenaline is also termed as an emergency hormone. You all know now why it is known as emergency hormone, right? I had already shown you the picture. So first is it increases the heartbeat accompanied by increase in blood pressure. Next is it increases blood supply to the muscles because muscles will require more energy now. So it increases the blood supply to the muscles while decreasing it to the skin and visceral organs, the main organs, जैसे digestive system, circulatory system, digestive system, skeletal system, your respiratory system, वहाँ सब organs में ना डाल के, skin में ना डाल के, वो mainly supply कर रहा है muscles में, right? Now more glucose is released into the blood by the liver. अभी हमने बताया the glycogen converts into the glucose. So more glucose is released into the blood by the liver, like putting more fuel into the engine. So when we want to run, we will put more fuel in the engine. In the same way, what does liver do? With the effect of adrenaline, it produces more glucose in the blood. Okay, in case of emergency. So remember, the final dash to win a race is under the influence of adrenaline. So if you remember, when we say there is an adrenaline rush in me, this is a phrase that we use in English. So in the end, when you run, just you can see the finishing line and you want to run for the last stretch. So the last stretch energy comes only under the influence of adrenaline. Okay. Now, so we have done medulla. Now let's talk about adrenal cortex. Now, what does adrenal cortex secrete? See, medulla secreted your adrenaline. It secretes many hormones, but the best known hormone is cortisol. We will not be studying about all the other hormones. We will be studying about cortisol only. And what is the main function? It suppresses the inflammation. Okay. So the cortical hormones are categorized as, the cortical hormones are of two types, mineralocorticoids or glucocorticoids, right? Now, mineralocorticoids. This regulates the mineral metabolism. Name se hi we are understanding mineralocorticoids. So what is its function? It regulates the mineral metabolism, especially sodium and potassium ions. So in the metabolism of these two minerals, mineralocorticoids is useful. Glucocorticoids. It regulates carbohydrate, protein and fat metabolism. Okay. Carbohydrate, protein and fat metabolism. Okay. So in general, what does the cortical hormones do? Okay. It increases the blood glucose concentration. It influences the fat and protein metabolism, and it regulates the salt and water balance in the body. So these are the general functions of cortical. And if you are asked about mineralocorticoids, you can say mineralocorticoids is for sodium and potassium ions metabolism, and glucocorticoids is for carbohydrate, protein and fat. But in general, the cortical hormones are increasing the blood glucose concentration, influence fat and protein metabolism, and regulate salt and water balance in the body. So this is salt and water balance is brought about by sodium and potassium balance only. Correct? Now, glucocorticoids adapt the body to stress such as extreme heat or cold, burns, infections, etc. So glucocorticoid help to adapt the body to such stress कि बहुत एक्सट्रीम हीट है या कोल्ड है या बर्न हो गया या इन्फेक्शंस हो गए हैं. सो glucocorticoids help our body to adapt to these changes or these stress. Then certain cortical hormones behave like sex hormones as well. Okay, they behave like sex hormones. They are both male as well as female hormones in both sexes. And overgrowth of cortex in young children, okay, leads to premature sexual maturity. You know that some children become mature really fast. Okay, so that is because of the overgrowth of cortex in them. Okay, it brings about premature sexual maturity. Now, you must have seen some women, okay, in which there's a beard, not a full-fledged big beard, but yes, there are women with beards, okay, but you must have noticed some females, okay, for them there's a overgrowth, there's a growth of hair here, okay. Also, you must have seen some men, mainly you must have seen some bodybuilders and all, they have an enlargement of breasts. Okay, not exactly like females, but yes, they have very big breasts in compared to normal men. So what is it that is causing these things? So if there's an overgrowth of adrenal cortex, okay, overgrowth of adrenal cortex in mature women, then she develops certain male characteristics such as a beard, okay, you can see mustache, okay, and deep male voice. And this condition is known as adrenal virilism. Okay, it is known as adrenal virilism. Very important. In Latin, virilism means maleness. Okay, the characteristics of maleness. Now, if the overgrowth occurs in mature men, then they may develop some feminine characters such as enlargement of breasts. Now, let's talk about hyposecretion from the adrenal cortex. Okay, so hyposecretion means less secretion. So, less secretion from the adrenal cortex will lead to a disease known as Addison's disease. This is a very important disease. So, study about this very carefully. So, what are the symptoms of Addison's disease? First is loss of energy. The person suffering from Addison's disease is always low on energy. Is always fatigued, tired all the time. Then skin pigmentation. There will be dark patches on the skin. Okay, then there is loss of weight. The person becomes very skinny. Nausea, the feeling of vomiting and you know your head goes on spinning, that's nausea. Then hypoglycemia. Hypoglycemia we have already studied in our previous chapters. The sugar level of the blood decreases, so low blood sugar. Okay, then sensitivity to cold and pain. They feel extreme pain. They are very sensitive towards cold and pain. Okay, and susceptibility to infections. They are prone to all the infections. Okay, they easily get infected. So these are the different Addison disease symptoms: fatigue and lethargy, low mood or irritability, weight loss, and muscle weakness. So you have to basically learn all these symptoms of Addison's disease, and remember that this is caused by less secretion or hyposecretion from the adrenal cortex. Okay, then hypersecretion of adrenal cortex means excess secretion of adrenal cortex. It causes Cushing's syndrome. Okay, what are the symptoms of Cushing's syndrome? This is also very important. Obesity. The person becomes obese. The fat, he becomes, mainly the abdominal part is very, you can say, bulging. So the person becomes very fat, obese, you know, obese. Then hyperglycemia, that is higher blood sugar. Osteoporosis, the disease of bones, you know that. Weakness. And salt and water retention. Your body cells retain water and salt. That is why the body parts become very swollen. Okay, so these are certain this is how a person with Cushing syndrome will look like. Very fat. There will be an emotional disturbance. Okay, there will be osteoporosis in his or her bones. Okay, he will be obese. Okay, muscle weakness, all these things will be there. Skin ulcers, poor wound healing, all these things will be there. So you have to remember these symptoms of Cushing syndrome. You have to understand it. This is caused by hypersecretion of adrenal cortex. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed learning adrenal glands from me. So if you have liked this video, please like it, share the video with all your friends, and subscribe to Zenith Academy Online. And keep the learning always on. See you in the next class with the next endocrine gland.